Greetings fellow Whovians and welcome to Timey Wimey Review, where I just wanted to do a quick video to talk about these special presentations for some classic Doctor Who episodes entitled Tales of the Tardis, which dropped exclusively for now on BBC iPlayer as part of the Doctor Who Whoniverse. Just in case you don't know what Tales of the Tardis is all about, well, to quote the 7th Doctor, it is set in a place called a memory Tardis, where people or old friends come together to share stories to remember. For us fellow Whovians, that means that some classic Doctor Who episodic stories has been woven into one omnibus episode or adventure and has been interlinked with some new footage featuring Doctors and companions from the past. For this series of Tales of the TARDIS, there are 6 stories to choose from, starting with the companions of Stephen and Vicky for the first Doctor's story, The Time Meddler, Jamie and Zoe for the second Doctor's story, The Mine Robber, companion Joe Grant or Joe Jones, along with Clyde Langer from the Sarah Jane Adventures. They talk about the third Doctor's story, The Three Doctors. Fifth Doctor and Tegan talk about Earthshock. The Sixth Doctor and companion Perry talk about Vengeance on Varos. And finally, the Seventh Doctor and Ace are reunited once again to talk about The Curse of Fenric. What was amazing about Tales of the TARDIS, before I get into this proper, was the actual announcement, because we only found out officially about Tales of the TARDIS 2 days before it actually landed as part of the Whoniverse on BBC iPlayer on the 1st of November. So I'm really impressed that they managed to keep all of this under wraps whilst they were filming these special scenes for these omnibus version of classic Who stories. And yeah, let's talk about this proper, because let's start with the set. The set is basically combining lots of different TARDIS consoles, or lots of things associated with all of Doctor Who, all of the show's 60-year history. We have various TARDIS consoles all sort of amalgamated together, not like one sort of giant console, but sort of all in different sort of areas. So you've got kind of like the 5th Doctor's, the 80s sort of TARDIS console on one side. You got the roundels from the 1st Doctor's TARDIS. I've seen some little bits from the 8th Doctor's TARDIS, and all the way up to New Who as well, particularly with the 13th Doctor's TARDIS console being part of like a campfire with these 2 chairs that the 2 actors involved can share these classic Who stories. Plus tons more Easter eggs in there, like Ace's baseball bat, the 6th Doctor's coat, 3rd Doctor's costume or outfits, the out of order sign that was used for the 1st Doctor to put outside of his TARDIS. There's just so many to sort of list, but let me know in the comments what Easter eggs you found in the memory TARDIS. Quickly, I will warn you that this is going to be a little bit of spoiler-ish territories, not just about Tales of the TARDIS, but about some of the classic stories that was chosen. So just as a fair warning, spoilers. So let's talk about the mini scenes that was integrated into these classic stories. So I'm going to tell you what I immediately went for, and yeah, no brainer on my part. And again, let me know in the comments which of the Tales of the TARDIS did you pick first. But for me, it was Earthshock. So straight away, we went in with the 5th Doctor and companion Tegan Jovanka, Peter Davison and Janet Fielding respectively. These scenes were written by Russell T Davies, Phil Ford and Peter McTighe, or McTee, I hope I'm pronouncing that. But for Earthshock specifically, this was the only one written by Russell T Davies. And yeah, you can tell that it was written by Russell T Davies in terms of some little tongue-in-cheek gags. So straight away, when the 5th Doctor and Tegan reunite and they go in for a hug, and the Doctor was like, is that okay? Oh, we didn't really do that. And Tegan replies, we do now. That's a nice little sort of nod into the no hanky-panky rule that was enforced by then producer John Nathan Turner, and the Doctor was never allowed to touch the companions in sort of a hugging or emotional way. So I thought that was pretty fun to sort of explore there. And also I found it quite fascinating that there was a quick snippet where Tegan said, I just said good night to Nissa. so the other companion for the Fifth Doctor. Now, this is where it gets a bit interesting, and again, help me out in the comments for this one, because Russell T Davies has wrote in sort of off-canon sort of things, like in the Sarah Jane Adventures, that Tegan and Nyssa were an actual couple, either in the TARDIS or life out after the TARDIS. Chris Chibnall had a sort of different take on that. He kind of, I think, in The Power of the Doctor, I think Tegan was married twice, not really mentioning Nyssa at all. And obviously, we get back to this again and saying goodnight to Nyssa. And I'm pretty sure Janet Fielding in a tweet has said, I never really got. I never thought that Nyssa and Tegan were an item. So again, let me know in the comments below what you think, whether Tegan and Nyssa are a couple. I don't mind either way. I personally didn't really see that sort of affection during the Fifth Doctor era, but then again, that was a very different era, hence the no hanky-panky rule. So yeah, I'm not absolutely rejecting this idea, but at the same time, it's something that I've never really thought about before. This was a great story to pick as well, because obviously these special sort of scenes kind of have a bit of a meaning on them, so it gives a fresh take on these classic stories. And this is what I liked about Tales of the TARDIS. It's a nice easy way for anyone that are fans of New Who or new fans of Doctor Who that have not really watched any classic stories before. It's a nice sort of interjecting way of introducing them, because obviously they would have seen some of these characters before, like for example the Fifth Doctor and Tegan in The Power of the Doctor, so it might sort of incline them even more to go back and revisit some classic Doctor Who stories. And also for the hardcore fans, it just gives that fresh look for these classic stories as well. So straight away, I really like when they go into their memories and it sort of interlinks, for example, to Earthshock. I like that they sort of do the closing aspect ratio for obviously what it was filmed in at the time. So that just kind of, those little touches there really just sort of add up. And yeah, these scenes between the Fifth Doctor and Tegan, they're just fantastic. I'm not going to be talking about the classic stories in there. I have reviewed some of the classic stories on the Time Wimey Review YouTube channel. I'm just sticking to the special scenes that was filmed for Earthshock, and these wonderful scenes between Fifth Doctor and Tegan, Peter Davison and Janet Fielding. This was all about the loss and grief of their companion Adric, who made the ultimate sacrifice against the Cybermen and lost his life. And yeah, that's always kind of like, it was one of those things, probably like back in the 80s. It was definitely shocking, and I've mentioned that in my heartbreaking companion departures. But it was always a companion. Adric wasn't probably the most popular companion, to be fair. But the more and more as time goes on, I think the shock of a companion death, and proper companion death, not these kind of fingers crossed New Who deaths where, I don't know, Rose Tyler's died but actually she's in an alternative universe, those types of things. Or Amy and Rory died but yeah, they had a full life when they went back in time, those types of things. This is a proper death. And yeah, they really played out those scenes and just give that sort of proper sense of goodbye as well, and that closure of dealing with the loss and grief of a friend and companion. I've just realised behind me that I've put, because I was trying to go for the order of the stories that they were originally transmitted, so I've put the Mind Robber and the Time Meddler the wrong way round, but actually, by happy accident, that is the order of how I watched Tales of the TARDIS. So I'll go straight to the Mind Robber. So I wanted to see Jamie and Zoe reunite, so Fraser Hines and Wendy Padbury, respectively. And yeah, I enjoyed their scenes as well. It was fun to see them back once again. Both looking fantastic as well. You can instantly tell that it is Jamie and Zoe. And again, a great story to pick for Tales of the TARDIS, the Mind Robber. In fact, most of them I have suggested in my 13 Faces of Doctor Who where to start Doctor Who videos. So if you haven't checked that out, please do so. So yeah, I was quite impressed that some of my suggestions are actually part of Tales of the TARDIS. So yeah, you're welcome. Love the scenes between Jamie and Zoe. I love the little touching remembrance of the companion Victoria as well, and obviously talking a little bit about the second Doctor too. And I also love the transition between the scenes that they filmed for Tales of the TARDIS into the Mind Robber, because obviously going with that aspect ratio and into black and white, it just sort of blends in quite nicely there. And yeah, the happy ending of it seems that they've got their memories back, because back in the Second Doctor era, as part of the Time Lords punishment on the second Doctor, and rather than the companions, they only got their one adventure with the Doctor, but never retained all the rest of their memories. So I kind of think that I think it fits both ways. I still think that Jamie and Zoe have lost all of their memories of their time with the second Doctor, but if they remember hard enough to get back into the memory TARDIS, that's where all their memories flood back in again, so they can reunite once more and share these amazing stories. On to the Time Meddler, and it was great to see Peter Purves and Maureen O'Brien back as Stephen and Vicky. And wow, they definitely not missed the beats, particularly Peter Purves. I always thought that Peter and Maureen, or Stephen and Vicky respectively, were great companions for the first Doctor. They definitely had big shoes to fill in terms of, obviously, Barbara, Ian and Susan have already left the TARDIS. So particularly William Russell and Jacqueline Hill, who were Ian and Barbara, they left the TARDIS. They were the original companions, and Stephen and Vicky, Peter and Maureen, they're the ones that took over that role. And yeah, if it wasn't for them, again, that, a lot of people obviously say about the first, if it wasn't for William Hartnell, we wouldn't be here 60 years later. The same goes for Peter Purves and Maureen O'Brien. If they weren't convincing companions or compelling companions, again, that would not have survived. And yeah, really impressed with their performances. I shouldn't be, but I was. They were brilliant in that, and yeah, just had that. I just see in their eyes that sort of wonderment and that sort of glee in when they were part of Doctor Who back in the 60s, particularly with the William Hartnell era. Peter Purves has always gone on to say that in various interviews that William Hartnell was his favourite Doctor, and you can see why. But yeah, that's another thing about Tales of the TARDIS. You do appreciate these wonderful actors and actresses who are part of the Doctor Who legacy. The Three Doctors, which had Katie Manning returning as the wonderful Jo Grant/Jo Jones, and a returning Clyde Langer, played by Daniel Anthony. Daniel has not aged a bit since the ending of the Sarah Jane Adventures. And yeah, it was nice little touching tributes there to Elizabeth Sladen, who was the definitive and one and only Sarah Jane Smith. So that was really nice, and a little touching tribute as well. Stephen Bevan, who played Professor Jones in the Third Doctor story, The Green Death, who sadly passed away a few years ago. That must have been quite brave for Katie to have performed as well, because obviously that was mentioned in the special scene where Clyde says, "Oh, I'm sorry to hear about your husband." And this is the one thing where it's not really, I'm not criticizing, because don't get me wrong, I've enjoyed all these, but I think I would have probably picked the Green Death over the Three Doctors for this particular presentation, because they talk about obviously love and lost on this one, and sort of the theming really of Clyde has strong feelings for his friend Rani from the Sarah Jane Adventures, and basically Jo is encouraging Clyde to speak the truth and tell her how you feel, and that kind of was a little bit in terms of the Green Death as well, because obviously that's the time where Jo fell in love and left the Third Doctor. And you know, that I think just would have been a way more better presentation than the Three Doctors. Don't get me wrong, Three Doctors is a great story, but that could have been saved for something else. But I think I would have gotten with the theme that they were going for this special presentation. I would have gone for the Green Death, and it would have worked more as well because of the Green Death's themes of environment and protecting the environment and the dangers of chemicals. That's easily transferable for modern day audiences, and that's why I'm so glad that they picked Vengeance on Varos for this presentation for the Sixth Doctor and Companion Perry, reuniting on screen again for Colin Baker and Nicola Bryant. It was great to see them on screen once more. Nicola looks great. Colin looks fantastic as well. And I quite liked that Colin Baker, I don't think he refused. I wouldn't say refused, but I'm glad that he wasn't wearing the Sixth Doctor costume. I thought that was quite fun. I was like, yeah, I'm just rocking with my goatee beard and my jacket. And for me, actually, I felt that maybe it wasn't the Sixth Doctor. I think it was another version of the curator as part of the Big Finish audios that Colin Baker is doing, who we first met in the 50th anniversary special, The Day of the Doctor. Let me know in the comments if you think that was the same theory as well. But yes, Vengeance of Varos, another very relevant story for this day, about sort of violence and what is, you know, acceptable to be seen on television. Again, something that I did pick for the Where to Watch video as well, or Where to Start video, 13 Facings of Doctor Who. And yeah, like I said, it was great to see them again and touching on those. Obviously, Perry being queen of for King Yukanos, and obviously saying that she went back to Earth, and it feels a bit like Varos at times, modern day Earth. So yeah, it was really nice touching themes that just worked so well for this presentation. And last but not least, we have the Seventh Doctor and Sylvester McCoy and Sophie Aldred reuniting to tell the tale of the Curse of Fenric. And again, a great theme to have, loving a little chess piece scene that they have. Again, these actors just don't miss a beat with their characters, particularly Sophie Aldred. She has always had Ace in her heart ever since she debuted in 1987 in Dragonfire, all the way up to now. And you just have these, yes, they are older, but you just snap back to that streetwise teenager of Ace, when they was talking about, let's, you know, talk about this together, let's share that story. And Ace was like, I don't want to, no way. You know, you saw the fear in Sophie's eyes, or Ace's eyes, when the Seventh Doctor first mentioned it for this special. And yeah, I like the little sort of line that Sylvester McCoy, the Seventh Doctor, said about sometimes I regenerate, sometimes I grow older. It's all about perspective. You know, that was a nice sort of like snippet as part of this expanding lore for Tales of the TARDIS throughout these special stories. And yeah, you got to see really, from an audience perspective, you know, what probably quite a lot of very lucky people, or if you haven't already, would have seen at the Comic Cons. You know, particularly Colin, Sylvester, Sophie. They are very much stalwarts, or legends, I would like to say, in the Comic Con scene. They're always on various Comic Con circuits around the world, and you do see that the friendship that they've built together over the past 40 odd years. And it's nice to sort of have that special moment on screen for Tales of the TARDIS. And yeah, I'm not going to put a rating. I'm just going to say it's fantastic. It's worth checking out. If you haven't already, please do check them out. But if you have, what was your favourite out of the Tales of the TARDIS? And what would you like to see if they ever got a second series? I'm pretty sure Russell Davies has tweeted somewhere that there are ideas for a second series. So whether that happens or not, we have to watch this space. But I'll start with, if they were going to do some more, I would like to see, straight off the top of my head, Leela and Romana, Louise Jameson and Lala Ward return and talk about, probably just do two stories actually. I would say probably talk about maybe City of Death for Romana, and maybe the Invasion of Time for Leela, or one of the, or even Robots of Death. Really, just those two sort of comparing notes and having a good old giggle about the Fourth Doctor. I think that'd be a really good one to have. And if they can ever do so in some shape or form, maybe Christopher Eccleston and Billy Piper talking about maybe Dalek. I think that'll be a really good one to revisit for those two. But yeah, let me know in the comments below, which ones would you pick and which ones were your favourites out of Tales of the Tardis. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please like, share and subscribe. Hit the cloister bell for more notifications. Come say hello and follow me on Facebook and X, and do check out my other fantastic Doctor Who content on the Timey Wimey Review TikTok page and right here on the Timey Wimey Review YouTube channel. And as the good doctor once said, time is memory, and memory is time.